It's time to talk about boundaries. No, I'm not talking about the white picket fence outside of your house. I'm not talking about the gate at the end of your road. And I'm not talking about the guards that patrol your community. I'm talking about beautiful boundaries. Let's dive straight in. I think the common consensus on boundaries is that we have these fences, these guards that keep people out. They're there to keep us safe and protected from harm, from unkind words, from getting hurt. That's why we put boundaries up. But today, really, I'm here to give you a different perspective on boundaries. That instead of you putting boundaries up to keep people out, that boundaries are really there to show people how close they can come. Boundaries are really there for you to create a safe space for yourself. This isn't about anybody else. It's really about you. Boundaries are there for you to show people how it is that you like to be spoken to be taken care of. Boundaries are there to show people how you like to be loved. Boundaries are there in order for us to create more intentional connections with each other, so that we're not just behaving unconsciously, we're just doing things for the sake of doing things, but we bring conscious awareness to our actions and our words, that we connect with each other not in a way that it's based on what works for me, but I connect with people based on what also works for them. That ultimately when we come together and we communicate and we connect, it's about honoring our differences and still being able to commune together and enjoy each other's company and learn and grow with and through each other. Now, we're at that time of year where many people are reflecting on the year that's passed and maybe thinking about the year ahead. Many of us are spending time with family, maybe family members we haven't seen for a few years. So boundaries are something that we really want to lean into practicing, because we're going to be sharing space with people who have different experiences, people who have experienced a lot of struggle perhaps in the last year or years, and are coming with a lot of baggage, burdens from the year, worries, stresses, concerns. And without awareness, we bring our troubles into the spaces that we commune in. So boundaries allow us also to be more compassionate, not just with each other, but more compassionate with ourselves. And how does that work? Well, I know for me, when I set boundaries, I'm basically telling myself what conversations I'm willing to have, what kind of topics I want to consider in my conversations. And I also set boundaries as to how late I want to stay awake, how much I want to have to drink, how much I want to eat. Those are boundaries for me, so that when people want to offer me that extra bit of cake, or they want to get into a conversation about politics or about parenting or about anything else that I have set a boundary on, then rather than get myself into a sticky situation, I can own the boundary right from the start and just simply make a request. This is not something I really want to talk about during this period, or I ever want to talk about. I never really need to explain things, and I am constantly reminding myself of that. We don't owe anybody an explanation. When we own a boundary, when we create a boundary, we are setting and maintaining an expectation, not just for other people, but for ourselves. I don't need anyone's approval, and neither do you. The only person who really matters, this might sound selfish, and it's supposed to, because really the only person who really matters in this world is the person I see in the mirror every day. Because the truth is, my friends, who is the person that you're going to spend the longest relationship with in your entire life? It's that person you see in the mirror. And yet, how often and how many times do you abandon yourself to please somebody else, to make friends, to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, How many times do you abandon your needs? How many times do you abandon your values in order to feel accepted? Once you accept yourself and you accept the uncertainty of who you are as well, because we're growing every day, then you are able to accept the uncertainty of life. I've said this before. None of us are getting out of here alive. We have no idea what is coming in the next moment. Everything is uncertain. But I can be certain of one thing, and that is I am becoming increasingly aware of what my needs are. And when I become more aware of my needs, I am more able to take care of those needs. And taking care of those needs requires me to set boundaries. Boundaries aren't there to limit. Boundaries are there as an expression of love, as an expression of self-love. I started this by saying boundaries are there as a methodology to show people how we take care of ourselves. I set boundaries to show the people that I love what matters to me and how to love me. I don't like talking about politics because I've seen the conflict and I've seen the tension and pressure it can cause between people, because people are passionate about their views, passionate about their freedom, and passionate about voicing their opinions. And I respect that. But not everybody knows how to navigate their emotions, and conversations can get very heated and people can shout and friendships get broken because of it. And because of that, I have set a boundary that I choose not to get involved in conversations on politics. And if people continue to insist on talking politics in my company, then I very powerfully claim that space, and either I make a request to end the conversation or I walk away. It's really as simple as that. The thing about boundaries, when we set them from the wrong place, from the wrong intention, is that in trying to protect yourself from harm, you might also prevent yourself from receiving the most incredible experiences in love. How do we create safe spaces for ourselves without denying ourselves the joy of life? And it all boils down to what you understand boundaries to be and where we're creating them from. So rather than come from a place of fear, like I'm putting up this wall, I'm putting up this fence because I want to keep someone out, because I'm protecting myself, I'd love for you to consider that boundaries are a way that you create safety for yourself, as a guide to show people how far and how near they can come, where to meet you. Having boundaries is about how you take care of your needs. Now, in order to take care of your needs, first thing you need to do is know what your needs are. And my need, for example, is to be spoken to in a tone that is calm and relaxing. My need is to be treated with respect. But you see, here comes the challenge, is that what I deem as calm and peaceful, what I value as being respectful, is going to be different for someone else. So even when I set that boundary for myself, there's going to be discrepancies. But at least I have a center point to return to, an anchor. I have a value that I want to respect for myself. And from that place, from that value, I'm able to express my need to someone else. So let me give you an example. If I'm afraid of being disrespected, if I'm afraid of someone talking to me in a way that isn't calm, I'm going to end up not going out at all. I'm going to end up not being social, not wanting to meet anybody, because I'm just going to be so afraid that that boundary is going to be crossed because I'm coming from a place of fear. But if I set my boundary based on love, based on knowing what my needs are, and I have an awareness that because we're all different in this world, everybody's value system is different. And when I say value system, I mean, we could have the same values, but our interpretation of those values are going to be different. Then as long as I have an anchor to come back to, which is me, knowing what my needs are and how to meet them, then anything that happens outside of that I can deeply listen to and lean into to learn more about the other person whilst holding my own boundary. So what that looks like is I go out, I know what my value is on communication and language. And let's say someone talks to me in a way that I find disrespectful, speaks to me in a tone that is heightened, and I feel unsafe because my nervous system has been activated. First of all, because I'm coming from love, because I've created that boundary from a space of love, I'm already grounded within my body because love is all encompassing. I know when my boundary is being crossed or about to be crossed. So I have the ability through the anchor of love to be able to express myself and say, hey, listen, the language that you're using is language that I'm not comfortable with. So I have a request if you could really maybe change your language, not use this word, not use that word. I would really appreciate that. Or I might say, I have a heightened sensitivity to volume and to tone, and I'm receiving your tone in a way that feels aggressive to me. I'm wondering whether or not we could switch conversation, we could switch topic, just so that I can settle my nervous system. I can feel safer. And if someone doesn't understand me, then it's my responsibility to own that boundary, to model to the other person what it looks and feels like to connect with me according to my values. And if that doesn't work, then I have the choice to walk away. Creating boundaries allows for us to cultivate deeper connections, because then we are able to express to other people who we truly are. We can show up as the people we are. I can show up as the person I am. I don't put myself in a situation where I'm afraid to say something that might offend someone, or I say things specifically to please somebody because I know it makes them happy, even though it may not be aligned to my values. I'm no longer looking for validation from somebody else to define who I am, because I've spent enough time discovering who I am, knowing that discovery of that journey of self-discovery is an infinite evolution. It's constant. And because I can surrender to that uncertainty, it gives scope for deeper connections with people. Because in knowing that my own evolution represents infinite growth, when I look at other people, I can also see a version of myself in them, someone who is every day just exploring life and trying to get to know themselves better. That way, with these boundaries, I can approach every conversation with a little bit more compassion, because I don't need to worry about somebody saying the wrong thing to me, because I can own my space, I can own my values, and I have the ability to communicate to someone when I do feel unsafe. Now, this is a crucial time for many of us. It's a time that's typically quite social. A lot of families come together. And when you put people of different walks of life who have different experiences and different interpretations of life together, boundaries can be very helpful. I'd get the proverbial question like, oh, what is it that you do for a living again? Oh, do you earn money from that? How much do you earn? Are you dating? When are you going to get married? Any of those questions sound familiar? Well, for many people, those sort of questions are harmless. They don't mean anything, especially for the older generation, because it was a line of questioning that showed interest and curiosity, which it does, yes. But for different generations, this type of questions feel very personal and make people feel uncomfortable. Many people feel that their privacy is being invaded when questions like that are being asked, or unnecessary pressure is being put on them to change a lifestyle or make different decisions for their lives. For example, the one about getting married. I bet a lot of you would have got that. You know, how much do you earn? How much are you saving? Whatever the questions may be, we have to remember we are speaking to people of a different time. So we're speaking to people who grew up in a different generation, but also more importantly, remembering always that we're all different. And so what looks like black to me is going to look like dark blue to someone else. And if we can be compassionate with people, if we can always remember that we're all different and lean constantly into that fearless curiosity, That whenever you see difference or a differential, that you can lean into it as an opportunity to learn something about the other person. That instead of making it about me and you and what separates us through our differences, that I can just make it about how I can learn more about you. Because when I learn more about you, I'm also learning something about myself, what I am, or perhaps what I really am not. And I don't have to judge it. I don't have to measure it. I can just be curious to expand my awareness whilst holding my boundaries so I'm not giving up who I am, what I want to be, and how I express myself at the same time. Having a boundary allows you to connect with someone on a deeper level because you don't feel threatened. You know who you are, or at least you know how to keep yourself safe and how to remove yourself from a situation that feels uncomfortable. So let's go back to the family scenario, right? And those questions that make be awkward, that make you feel uncomfortable. How do you navigate that? And I've got a couple of really, really cool and very simple strategies to help you navigate that. So number 5, say no. No is the hardest thing to say, isn't it? Have another glass of wine? No. Have another piece of cake? No. But really, remember that when you say no to someone, you're saying yes to yourself. And so you can own that boundary. Because yes, nobody likes to hear the word no, but I want you to put yourself first. So say no, claim it, own it. Because saying no is saying yes to yourself. No is a complete sentence. And if you really struggle with saying no, then within your mind, find an alternative. So if someone says to you, hey, come on, have one more glass of champagne, you could say, no, but I'll have another glass of soda. I'll have another glass of orange juice. Or you could just leave it as no, because no is saying yes to you. I cannot say it enough times. Another way to own your boundary is to smile. And that's it. Smile. Another strategy is literally to lean in for a glass of water and take a breath, or walk away. That's probably one of the easiest tactics or strategies for holding a boundary, especially when you've claimed it and the person is not listening, right? You've said no, you've smiled, you've breathed, you've had a glass of water, and they're still pushing you. Simple strategy, walk away. And let's say they're still coming after you with a finger. What do you do then? Well, that's a really good question. And you know what? If you've got tips, I invite you to send me those tips too. Because the truth is, my friends, owning boundaries is different for everybody. And part of owning boundaries and honoring boundaries and understanding that when we create boundaries from the right place, and it's a place of love, it's not about making things not happen. It's not about a preventative measure, but it's about putting yourself in a space of authority so that you can own who you are with fearless authenticity. You can be clear with someone that you said no. You can be clear with someone what your values are and move from that space, from a place that is anchored and grounded and hopefully discerning. So you're not reacting to the situation. You've come in with your eyes wide open. You have a strategy to navigate the things that not only that you do want, that you happily say yes to, but you can navigate the things that you don't want in your life and you can happily say no to. That's why boundaries are beautiful. They're about keeping you safe, not keeping people out, but teaching and modeling to people what it's like to love you, what it's like to support you, and what it is like to be you. And if they can't align with those boundaries, then that's okay. You have a strategy for that too. You'll smile, you'll have a glass of water, you'll give them a hug, you'll say no, or you'll walk away. Maybe you'll even end that friendship. But whatever it is, you stand strong in who you are, always being curious about the other party, learning something more about them in the process, but also owning your space, owning your authority as the youest version of you, as Dr. Seuss always says, and showing up in life with fearless authenticity always. So don't forget, boundaries are beautiful. And this season, if you need to look in the mirror and give yourself this pep talk and just say, listen, who is the person you're going to spend the longest relationship with in life? It's that person in the mirror. So start treating him or her or they with respect. Start loving them. Start keeping them safe, because if you don't do it, who will? And I promise you, it may seem difficult at first, and you may meet with some resistance when you start owning your boundaries. And that's perfectly normal, because people are used to you behaving one way. So of course, when you change, that's going to make them feel a little bit unsettled. But I promise you, if you maintain and own your boundaries, you will see a shift. Just like the shift that you experience within you, that will have a ripple effect beyond you and from you that's going to positively influence the people around you. And if you might lose some friends, you might, but that's okay. It's going to hurt. Yes, indeed. But that's why we have this podcast. That's why we have our community, so that we can lean in for support. Just remember that no is a complete sentence, and that anybody who cannot respect or honor your no deserve a seat at your table. And that if they walk away, and no matter how much it hurts, remember that they are making space for somebody who will love and honor you by your values and by your boundaries. Sending you so much love this season. And I know this topic may have seemed intense, but intense is intimate, and intimate is about deep connections. And having a deep connection isn't about being the same or agreeing, or only hanging out with people because it's easy. But it's finding the people that even through the hardest times, you can still be with each other in a loving and supporting way. Let's make 2023 a good one. Always continue to be fearlessly curious. Until the next one.